Now let's further enrich our perspectives with our guest contributor who will give us his views and expertise on nearly everything we've covered on the program today and beyond. And for this, I'm joined in the studio by the current affairs analyst and professor of communications at, of all places, Bayes University in Abuja, Professor Abiodun Adeniyi. How are you, Prof? How nice to see you.
It's a pleasure, Charles.
What do you make of what Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed was saying? He was clearly firing on all cylinders.
Well, you know, he's
very outspoken.
Yeah, he's a very frank person. You know, he's been an excellent boss of mine for the past 12 years. And I can tell you confidently that he bears his mind, you know. He's not pretentious, you know, and of course he can be very circumspectual. And that's what he tried to do, letting us know that the euphoria around ADC, ADC, that we should temper it a little bit because there are some fragments, you know, that are trying to come together, and of course there might be some disintegration if some things are not properly.
So he's sounding a cautionary note. Basically.
Absolutely, and this is the first time we're hearing it.
Yeah,
of course,
absolutely.
from my own in the last 24 hours.
That is true.
It tells you how he can be forthright, you know, to come out clean, bears his mind, and of course we also know this. You know, it's been anticipated severally. But because of the way they emerged, you know, because of the kind of games that they played to outsmart the ruling party, that was reportedly, allegedly trying to prevent them from gathering, you know, we were quite, we were quite appreciative, you know, imagining that for once, again, against the background of allegations that the incumbent president is trying to muffle opposition, that they could cut through those barriers, you know, and stand their ground that yes, there's going to be an opposition because democracy is about a tangle of ideas, and muffling it is going to be a disservice. So he came out from your interview. Yes, you tried to drill him, and of course he also was letting you know that yes, it's okay to come together, but we must be careful. You know, we must be moderated about the excitement because it might not just be uhuru yet, and this is quite predictable. Remembering that the ADC that we're talking about is a conflation of, in my own opinion, three sets of people. You know, people who are not happy with PDP. You know, in the main, then of course we have influential people from the Labour Party like Peter Obi and himself. And we'll have some fragments of people from the APC as well. So we're seeing different interests conflicting. And of course, unlike the previous coalition we've been seeing, we had distinct individuals that we could point out and say, this is going to be the person that will fly our presidential flag, you know. But in this case, it's quite somewhat different. So if they cannot come to an agreement, you know, on that, there's going to be a problem. But from what I've had my boss, incidentally, Senator Dati saying is that if Peter Obi, for instance, you know, is supported to fly their flag, you know, they stand a very, very good chance, you know, not just to continue as a strong opposition, but to emerge as a strong party in the wake of the seeming moribund state of the PDP.
But do you think Peter Obi would have gone blind into this coalition without some hint that perhaps that position is going to come
I think Peter Obi is smarter than that. He must have, there must have been some persuade, you know, some attempt to convince him to come over. Yeah. You know, even shortly before they came into the open, he said that he's not going to leave the Labour Party, that he's going to run, but that, you know, he will do one term, you know. And there must have been some bits, you know, some things placed before him. So the signals will be there. But it's also one thing to present a signal, and it's another thing to get it actualized.
Indeed.
If, for instance, we have an article saying that it's not going to run again now, you know, we all will have been assured that the only likely person, you know, that will emerge is Peter Obi, against the background of agitations too, even, you know, loud ones, you know, that the presidency, no matter what, should remain in the South, you know, from 2027 onwards.
And
at least for another 4 years.
Yes, absolutely. The problem with Nigerian politics, and which is what some people have said, is that a lot of these people are people who've run elections that are not very clean elections, from primaries. They have a method that they use in trying to win over support.
Yeah, I think that's also
and when they're all together in that thing, that is likely to come to the fore again as people try to press their advantage. And that's just going to be like all the other stuff.
They're not going to do anything really different, you know, considering that they are all we've always made the point that our political parties, affiliations are hardly ideological. So it's about winning an election. It's about the next election, as the case could be. And that's what we're again seeing. So whatever is going to help them win that election, they're ready to deploy it. So we're not going to see anything different in terms of values, in terms of virtues, And that's what he pointed, he was also saying.
Yeah, that was a good point.
If the election, if the primaries is credible, if he sweeps his fancy in the way he did it before, then of course he will agree with it. But we're not likely to see that happening.
Right.
But again, where else are we going to get people who will come as a strong opposition to the seeming hegemony of the APC, if not from the same political system?
Absolutely.
They're not going to
That's a very good
from
point.
the sky. It's going to still be from
Indeed.
from the system.
We've got about a minute or so left. I mean, you're somebody who has a lot of current affairs analysis experience. You've been observing Nigerian politics for a long time and helping us understand these things.
I appreciate that.
In that experience of yours, do you see the likes of Atiku Abubakar, Nasir El-Rufai, Rotimi Amechi stepping aside for somebody like Peter Obi?
That's a very difficult one, really. But I think it depends on how determined they are to say they do not want a second term for Tinubu. If the determination is strong enough for them to sacrifice their individual ambition, they can do it. But if it is not, if it's just about their own interest, I think they will insist on their position. But I do not see a Peter Obi, for instance, running as vice president. Because he's got a lot of followership, a lot of people believe in him, and it's going to be a major disservice to even his character. If he subsumes himself once more to another person as a presidential candidate, remembering that he has done it before and he didn't succeed as much as when he ran alone, wanting to be the president of Nigeria alongside Senator Dati. So I think a lot more will still happen, a lot more permutation, and of course, bridge building. The blocks, the foundation they have laid is okay, but they have to be careful that they build the blocks very well, creditably as well, with lots of integrity injected into the structure. Otherwise, it might just once more collapse again, like the previous coalition we have seen that never went anywhere. But overall, it's a welcome development. We need some level of opposition just for the incumbent government to also know that it's not all going to be a bed of roses. Okay.
On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry the time was a bit shorter than usual. Okay. Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed gobbled up some of your time. But Professor...
It's my boss, it's permitted.
Professor Abiodun Adeniyi is a current affairs analyst and professor of communications at Bayes University in Abuja. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.